Welcome to Basketball Network. My name is Harry, and today we'll be talking to Dorell Wright, NBA champion with the Miami Heat in 2006, and one of the last players to get drafted straight out of high school. Dorell, welcome.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Dorell, I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but how was it like coming into the league straight out of high school at such a young age? What was that feeling like?
Man, it was different. Me being at lunch with my friends and having a great time in high school, going to class to the next year, playing for a great organization in the Miami Heat and living on South Beach. If anybody's ever been to Miami, you understand what I mean by that. So it was definitely a big transition for me, coming from LA and going to Miami and playing for the Heat and having to, really become a young adult at an early age and be very mature. So it worked out. It was a great time, but it was definitely difficult.
Yeah, I'm sure with everything happening in South Beach, Miami, that was a hard task.
Sure.
When joining, the league at such a young age, I'm sure you've had a bunch of wow moments. For example, okay, I'm sharing the locker room with that guy, or I'm playing with that guy. What were some of your first wow moments in the league?
Probably for sure my first year, being an LA kid, growing up watching the Lakers, Kobe, Shaq, and me getting drafted to Miami, and then all of a sudden we trade for Shaq in the preseason or in the summertime. I'm sorry, and I'm like, what? Like Shaq is getting ready to be my teammate. I've been watching him damn near my whole life, being an LA kid, being a big time Laker fan. So Shaq was definitely one of those guys that was like, wow, like I'm really playing with this guy I've been watching my whole life.
Mhm. It was crazy to see that transition when Shaq took his talents to South Beach. That was amazing. Um,
So,
your first few years in Miami, you were coached by the legend Pat Riley, one of the best
uh-huh.
all-time coaches and executives in the NBA. What was that like? Can
That
you
was
tell?
great. Another wow moment. Somebody that I used to watch as a kid, with the Showtime Lakers. My parents were big Laker fans, so I knew a lot about Pat Riley. It's so funny because my mom used to take me to the summer leagues in LA, and we'll see Pat Riley, and she'd be like, "Go speak to him, go speak to him." And I used to always just be so shy to get up and go talk to him. So it was pretty funny sharing that story with him the first day they introduced me to Miami, my press conference. I told him the story like, man, my mom used to always tell me to go speak to you when I was a young kid. I was just so afraid. Now it's pretty cool to be able to talk to you all the time, anytime I want to here, being with the Heat.
And he was available like that? I mean, he talked to everybody, or was he more of a kind of a strict guy?
No, he was definitely available. The best thing with me, he understood the temptation of being an 18-year-old in Miami. So we had weekly talks. So he'd bring me in the office weekly and we'd just talk about life, just talk about things that, I should do off the court, giving me different books to read. So he was definitely trying to be that father figure for me
Mhm.
and uh, just make sure I was doing well because that's a big investment. I was the first kid out of high school to ever go to Miami. They seen all the potential that I had in me, so they tried to do whatever they could do to make sure I was staying on the right path.
hmm And that's really cool to hear, coaches trying to develop that personal relationships with all of their players. More coaches should do that, definitely.
Sure. Heck yeah.
Um, Riley is also known as the ultimate motivator, and we recently wrote a story about the ice bucket in '06.
Yeah.
I'm sure you recall. Can you walk us through that moment?
Well, we was just getting our ass kicked, and you know, it, it was so crazy to just see how Pat can motivate you for 82 games and including the playoffs. Most coaches, sometimes they can't, get their words together to motivate their team when, you probably lost two or you're on a back-to-back. It's two road games. You've been on a road for 6, 7 days. It's kind of hard to motivate guys. So just to hear him every day come up with a different speech to get guys going was crazy. And then the ice bucket was just a whole nother level. It's like, yo, what's going on? What is he doing? Is anybody gonna help him out of there? Is he gonna drown? You know, so then when he come out of there and say, you know, that's what it takes to your last breath, everybody was like, whoa, like what? Like everybody went out there, and I think we ended up winning the game by 20, 30 points. Whatever game it was, I forget what game it was, but
I think it was Shaq talking about how you guys were down 2-0 against the Mavs, and then you
oh yeah,
turned it around. Yeah,
exactly. So
that was
just to
amazing.
see him do that, just to see uh, how much he gave a damn about winning and doing whatever it took to motivate us. Come on, man, you'll run through a brick wall for a guy like that.
That's awesome, man.
Mhm.
Um, and he was also notorious for keeping his teams in shape and his practices. Um, were there any? I mean, I'm sure there were many scenes of guys throwing up or anything like that. Something like that. Were there any
Yeah.
anecdotes you can share with us from those times?
Probably the funniest one, my best friend Quentin Richardson, when we traded for him. When you in the summertime and you during season and you talking to guys and they always ask you, so is it true? And it's always like, yeah, it's true. Like we really work our butt off here. We really do weight and body fat every week. We really are the best conditioning team in the whole NBA. Because if we're not running sprints, they used to have us on a bike for 45 minutes. So I never forget Q Rich coming in town. He was a little bit overweight, and he was going to be our starting 3 guard. So the only way he could be our starting 3 guard, you got to meet certain criteria, and that's 8% body fat and whatever weight they told him. So he worked his butt off. He was in the gym every day during the summertime. Some days on Fridays they'll let guys go home, and he'd just stay there throughout the weekend and get his work in. And I never forget that time him running lines. And you could just see him getting ready to just call Earl. That's what we say in America. Call Earl is throwing up. You just see him. He's slowing down, and just he couldn't even hold it no more. He just threw up all over the court and everything,
That's
and
crazy.
had to go sit on the side. And I never forget going up to him like, "Hey, man, it's real here, huh?"
what what about
Real.
what about Shaq? Did he have any special treatment? Because he did have a tendency to get a bit overweight, especially in the later stages of his career. How did that work with Pat and him?
No man was off the hook with anything. Everybody worked the same. Shaq did the same stuff I did. D Wade did the same stuff I did. Gary Payton, Jason Williams, we all had to do the same thing. And that's what he believed in. He felt like if you were playing at a certain number, that your performance level was going to be here. And that's what he got guys to buy in. And that's why we were able to be a championship team. And that's why you see these Miami Heat teams being so successful, because it's a blueprint. This is what it is.
It's a
If you don't want to
system.
follow that, yeah, it's a system, it's a blueprint. If you don't want to follow that, this is probably not the best place for you. And a lot of people know that before they even think about signing with Miami.
Hmm. And then the emergence of Eric Spoelstra. How would you compare him to Pat? Like the similarities and differences?
I would say they're different. Younger, new school feel, great motivator, a doer, great leader, same as Pat. But I think what really, really puts Spo on a different level is becoming the coach he is because where he started from. His humble beginnings is starting in the film room and busting down tape. So the things that you need to be good as a coach, you need to know that, how to break down film, what to watch for, him, getting clipping clips for Pat to know what to show the team after a bad loss or a good win. Those are the things he's just creating his resume,
Hmm.
from the bottom up. So that's what made him really a good coach, is being every position. He worked every position. It's just like, when you an employee at a big firm, you start as an employee, then you make it to manager, and hopefully you do right where you get some type of ownership, or you're a head honcho, and you take all those skill sets that you learn and you put it all in one. And that's exactly what he's doing right now.
Hmm. Yeah, the best kind of CEO is the guy that knows all the pieces of his company. And Eric really started from the bottom, and now he's here. Yeah.
Now he's here, man. Not to be too cliche, but he's here now. He's arrived.
Mhm. Um, when you guys won the championship, the following year, things went south for you guys. What happened? Why was
Um,
that?
I think our hangover was just too long. I think guys just came back. I think I think we were just, I don't want to say we were surprised that we won, but it just felt so good what we went through that whole year because everything wasn't all bells and whistles that '06 year. You know, it was a lot of, turmoil up and down. That's part of it when you want to be a good team. You have to go through the bad stuff to get to the great things. So I just feel like, the hangover is just too long. We celebrated for too long and, uh, you know, we had that target on our back that we wasn't used to. We were the underdogs. We slid under the rug and got to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
But that following year, it was like, hey, man, those are champs. So we got to prove every single night why we're a better team than them, man. That's just how it happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then I've got to ask you this question: Prime D Wade, Flash, being around him and playing with him, like, what was that like? He's one of the best shooting guards in my mind ever. And the things he was able to do with Miami was amazing.
Yeah,
Did anybody? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Did anybody? Yeah. Did anybody expect what just happened to happen? Like was he a franchise player when he came in, or was it was like a?
I feel like if you're drafting in the top 10, top 6, whatever it was, I think he won 5. You're a franchise player. Mm-hmm. And, the great Pat Riley seeing that, not too many people seeing that. We just had a conversation, D Wade and I, on vacation. We went to Mexico and he was like, man, when his agent told him that Pat was going to pick him, that he was going to pick him at 5th, he couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? That just shows you how much in detail they were with his game and what he does and what he can bring. But just to see the growth, I think the number one thing is just starting with how humble he was. Most superstars don't act the way he act. He carried himself a different way. He was, a young adult, but he was way more mature because he was married and had a kid already. So I think the way he approached his craft was way different than a lot of guys. So when I did see him in that '06 finals, I knew that the star has arrived. Like even the work he did the year before against the Hornets in the playoffs, he did well. But I feel like once he did what he did to Dallas, really put that stamp on his superstardom.
Mm-hmm. It did indeed. And what about you and playing with greats like Alonzo Mourning and Gary Payton? How did that influence your game and your career?
I think it influenced on a longevity standpoint. Me being able to watch those guys be professionals all the time. Like it wasn't no days off. I'm gonna be a professional. I'm gonna come with great attitude, a great energy, and I'm gonna work my butt off. And I seen those guys do it at the age of 35, 36. I'm 35, 36, and I'm on the fence if I'm gonna retire or play again. And these guys were winning a championship. So just to see what they put into the game and what they got back is kind of the approach I tried to take. Like, man, they putting the work in, they busting their butt, they're not making no excuses. If I want to be a good player and stay around in this league, I got to do that. So that's kind of how I looked at those guys.
Mm-hmm. And I got to ask you, when talking about Miami, your August tweet and your famous prediction, you tweeted, "I got Miami winning it all in the bubble." Was that a lucky prediction, or did you genuinely think that? Do you genuinely think that Miami has all the pieces necessary to do this?
Yeah, and it's funny because I thought they would have won it if the pandemic didn't happen. Just watching the team, I watch a lot of basketball. Understood how big that trade was with Memphis getting Iguodala, getting Jay Crowder from. I think Jay came from Utah. I think he came from Utah,
so.
And then I was able to go to 2 games this year. I went to one. I had to go back for a funeral for a great friend that I had in Miami, and then I went to D Wade's retirement, his jersey ceremony. And then I think after that jersey ceremony is when I really put the stamp on. I think they can win. I think they have the potential. I think they have the depth. I think they have the leadership, the veterans, and the shooters. So when I saw that, that made me put the stamp on it. And then in August, right before the bubble happened, I'm looking at the scenario. I'm like, no fans. It's kind of hard for guys to play with no fans. The guys are healthy. The young guys are shooting the ball well. I'm like, they're winning this shit for sure. They're winning it because they have what it takes. They're not scared. They won't back down. And their leader is unselfish. He's gritty. He's the definition of the Miami Heat basketball player. Not only him, Bam as well. So when I seen that, I was like, Yeah, they have a great chance. So I can't wait to see him compete and try to go out there and win another one. I know it's going to be hard trying to go through LeBron James, but I think they're going to put on a show.
And when talking about Jimmy, it's crazy that he wasn't able to fit in certain teams he played with previously, and then coming to Miami and meshing with this group. It's just amazing to see, and the way they spread the floor, just beautiful basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and another thing is just a new day when you say Jimmy fits with his team. Jimmy reminds me of that old school attitude that those Alonzo Mournings and those Gary Paytons and the Shaquille O'Neals had. They're holding guys accountable, and guys don't like to be held accountable. Especially at the highest level, and that's what makes winning teams winning basketball. You look at the Golden State Warriors, you look at the LeBron team, you look at all these great teams, the Celtics. Those guys held each other accountable. It was nothing getting slipped under the rug. So that's why it was uncomfortable for people to be around Jimmy, because he made people accountable. And if you wasn't accountable, he made you feel, like, yo, what's up? You know what I mean? So
And that's
I got
something
a lot of respect for him, man, because that's what it takes to be great.
exactly, and perhaps that's something that the Clippers missed the most,
For
keeping
sure.
each other accountable.
For sure.
Um, okay, following your tenure in Miami,
Mhm.
you signed with the Warriors, and you just exploded your first year.
Mhm.
Um, you actually scored more points in your seventh season than all of your first six seasons combined.
Mhm.
How is that even possible? And do you think you were maybe even underutilized, in Miami?
Well, I came in the league, man, I was more of a scorer. So it wasn't surprising. That's what I did. It's just the fact that I went to Miami. We had D-Wade, we had Shaq, we had all these great players. So they turned me into a 3-and-D guy. So I had the assignment of sticking the best player every night. And then my other assignment on the other end was knock down open shots, be athletic, catch lobs, get putbacks, get offensive rebounds. So when you see guys playing in the league 10, 11, 12 years, and you wonder, why the hell is he still playing? Like, for instance, Jared Dudley, why is he still around? Because he mastered a role. And that's what you have to do to be an NBA player. You have to master a role. And I know Jared Dudley personally. We played against each other in high school, one of the best high school players I ever played against. But, once you get to the league, you just got to be a master of that role. So that kind of factored into it. So once I got to Golden State, they kind of gave me the keys. I was a starter. They had to look behind my back. I just went out there, played, free spirit, and guys found me. I played with great players. They made the extra pass, and I took all my shots with confidence. And every night, I was ready to play.
Hmm. Hmm. And in 2010, you actually set the record for most three-pointers made with the
Yep.
Warriors franchise. That the record was later broken by the Splash Brothers, but it's safe to assume that your numbers would be much bigger in today's game, with how the game is really three-point oriented.
Uh-huh.
Um, do you ever think do you ever wish you entered the league a few years later?
Yeah, I be telling my brother, you're hecka lucky because if I was born 5 years later, I'd be right now it's my prime. I'd be out there knocking down threes in transition. The shots that were bad shots 16 years ago when I came to the NBA are great shots now.
Hmm.
So it's just so crazy how it changed. But I definitely think I'll be able to excel in this league today. So it's fun to watch. It's crazy to see, but it's definitely fun to see guys shoot all those threes. And it's only fun because I was turned into a 3-point shooter. So that's why I like it.
Awesome. Can you talk about Mark Jackson and perhaps his impact on laying the foundation with the Warriors? Because I feel he's often forgotten, but he's kind of the guy that set everything together, and then he was replaced by Steve Kerr. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
I think he did a good job with changing the culture. Not only himself, Joe Lacob, Peter Guber as well. Their whole ownership. They seen the disaster that was in previous. Because it really wasn't nobody to answer to back then. They were just rolling with it. So I think once this ownership came in, and then they picked a coach who can fit that ownership vision. So when they got Mark, a great guy, well respected. it was just perfect. Guys respected him. They believed what he was saying, and they went out there and was ready to run through a brick wall for him as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
think, and it happens. A lot of stuff I did before. I was just a little ahead of my time, and I think that's kind of what it was with Mark. If he had those same pieces, because think about it, he had Draymond Green on the bench. Steve
Mm-hmm.
Kerr was the one that played him, but I'm pretty sure Draymond wasn't ready then. So
Yeah.
just imagine if Draymond was ready and what type of team he would have had. So, it's just all about timing. Just with me, same shit, with the
Yeah.
league, all about timing.
Yeah. And it took the Splash Brothers a few more years to develop. And when talking about them, were there ever signs of them becoming this good?
For sure, definitely, because I seen him put the work in, and that's where it starts at, putting that extra time in when nobody's watching as well, not just when everybody's in the gym. Me hearing that you left, an hour or two after us because you wanted to get a lift in or extra shots or watch film, that's the stuff you got. Those are the seeds you plant to blossom to where they become. And it's no surprise to me at all. Those are two great guys, two guys who had dads that played at the high level. So,
Mm-hmm.
what better role models than have NBA dads that showed them the life and taught them so much. So I'm not surprised at all. But
That
it's
makes a
crazy
difference for
seeing it.
sure.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy seeing it though, because
Yeah.
it's like, damn, these guys are my teammates and they really out here going crazy. Real.
What do you think separates the Warriors culture, if anything, from other franchises?
I think they're getting guys that fit in. They're not getting guys just because they can play well. I think they're getting guys not only that can play well and are a plus to the team and to these great players. They're good people too.
Mm-hmm.
People want to be surrounded by good people, especially you got two franchise players that are great, the best people you're gonna ever meet. With Steph
Mm-hmm.
and Clay, Draymond as well. He get a lot of backlash because how he carries himself on the court, but off the court he's a totally different guy. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to put those type of guys together. Those are the guys that mesh. You can't put
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of nice guys with some guy with some crazy ego or attitude. You got to put
Mm-hmm.
guys together that mesh, and I think they do a great job of doing that.
But even Draymond, I really like him because I feel he's real and he's always going to tell you what's on his mind, whether
Right.
you like it or you don't. So kind of a Charles Barkley guy.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Yeah. Following your tenure at with the Warriors, you played with the Sixers and then 2 years with the Blazers. Um, you played alongside Damian Lillard, big game Dame.
Yeah.
We've seen what he's able to do in the playoffs, and especially in the bubble. What happened? I think he averaged 36 or 37 points a game.
Right.
And that first game against the Lakers, I was, I thought the Lakers were going down for a second. With Nurkic coming back and everything. Can you talk about his mentality and what makes him different?
Make him different is he carries that underdog mentality with him. He carries it heavy on his shoulder. He knows that he's better than everybody, and he knows that so many people has overlooked him, so many people has had something to say about him. So he has to prove every single night. Most guys like that don't have to prove nothing. He feels that it's only right for me to go out there and prove to you guys that I'm better than you. I'm putting
Mm-hmm.
more work in than you, and I'm cut from a different cloth. I'm from Oakland. He
Mm-hmm.
carry that, you can see it, all what he's about. He carries it with him proudly, and you can do nothing but respect it because
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't like seeing the underdog win? So just to see where he is, same with Clay, same with Steph. And another great point guard I did play with that doesn't get a lot of credit is Drew Holiday in Philly. Very underrated player. All these guys are great guys. They put the work in, they put the time in, and they none of them have ego. They just want to win and they want to be the best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Drew was also drafted right out of high school, right?
No, Drew went to UCLA for 1 year.
Oh, no, no.
Mhm.
And then when talking about the Blazers, with Dame and CJ McCollum, do you think in the long run the two of them can coexist? Because
For sure.
they've played phenomenal basketball and they're playing on a very high level for all these years. But in the long term, is it going to work out for them?
100%. Why wouldn't it work out for him? I look at a Clay and Steph. I don't see too many, difference. Both great scorers, both great shooters. Yeah, maybe Clay plays a little better defense than the two. Okay, but I think they're missing pieces. Just think about this Blazer team if they have Collins, if they have Trevor Ariza. We're looking at a whole different ball game. I mean, ball team. You know what I mean? They really had to depend on young guys, and that was good for their future that they depended on those guys. And guys like Gary Trent Jr., he showed up. So you know what he can bring now. So just imagine if they had a Ariza out there or a John Collins. Not John. Is it John Collins? I think it's John Collins.
Yeah.
Imagine if they had those guys, more veterans, more leaders out there playing and contributing and taking a little more weight off of those two guys. I think they make them look a lot better as well.
It's going to be really nice watching them play next year with all this experience they gained, especially in the bubble. You played in Europe for about 5 years. Germany, Serbia, China, and Russia. What can you just compare? Playing overseas and maybe like your favorite moments or just like the culture difference. First thing that comes to mind.
Definitely big difference from NBA to Europe ball. The biggest difference was just, the stuff that you hear all the time, the practicing, the traveling, the fans. So, I got a great experience. My first game in Europe was a Europe League game in Germany, Bamberg, who has a lot of rich history of winning championships. So just the atmosphere every night in Germany, man, they came out to play. They came out to see you because, we had that target on our back, champs. You guys won it 4 out of the last 5 years. So everybody wanted to get a piece of it. So that probably was a big difference, just the practicing and the attention to detail those guys were, and just the team basketball. It wasn't so much one-on-one. It was making an extra pass. Everybody can shoot. Everybody, knew their role, and they stuck to that. And that's probably the things that really, really stuck out to me.
And in terms of fans, specifically in Serbia, I know that fans get a bit rowdy and crazy. Probably, I'm sure you've seen it. Can you talk more about that?
I remember playing against Fenerbahce. They came down and whooped on us and left all kind of stickers on our cars. Broke the bleachers from jumping and doing all that. Definitely going when I played. Before I got there, I went to that same IUK. Before I got to Germany, we played against Partizan. And I remember going off that game and we played in the smaller gym and just how crazy those fans were yelling at me and just being pissed because I was making tough shots and they was like, yo, who is this guy playing for this team that isn't supposed to be good? And he's giving us a hard time. So just experiencing that was definitely, I wish all my guys in the league can experience. You go to Golden State, you go to OKC, you go to Portland, it can kind of get similar to Europe, not as rowdy, but loud. You know what I mean? So they won't never ever be able to experience the rowdiness of Bachi or Tacos and all those guys.
Yeah, the NBA fans are more like, in a way, like theater fans. They're enjoying the experience and everything, but these European fans, they're gonna get into your face, and probably some of the things that they do would not be allowed in the NBA.
Oh no, they're going straight to jail.
Yeah.
Throwing stuff on the court, lighting flares, and all that stuff is the craziest thing I ever seen in my life. That's so crazy to me, but I love it.
In terms of you and basketball, do you have any plans? What's next for you in terms of your basketball career?
I'm still continuing to build. As you can see, my Right Legacy is my AAU program that I launched last year when I got back home. So that's going pretty well. Just continue to give back to the game. Make a big impact on the youth. They need more guys like me around and not these guys that didn't play at the high level, telling the parents and telling the kids stuff that, that is not true. Somebody's going to be real. So that's what I'm vowing to do, is to give back to the community as much as possible, give back to the game as much as possible. And man, that's basically where I am with basketball, and, just still trying to see what I'm going to do next as far as playing and stuff. If there's any options out there for me, I don't mind. But if not, I'm fine with not doing that either.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. And yeah, the Right Legacy, the AAU team, that's something you founded with your brother, right?
With my brother, and it's also my the name of my foundation. And
Mm-hmm.
we give scholarships. Like we just gave away 4 scholarships already for this upcoming school year, and something I really really take a lot of pride in. One of my most humbling accomplishments is giving back to the kids and giving them an opportunity to reach those goals and go to college and make their parents proud, make their families proud, and give them a better way of finding great jobs when they're done with school.
Mm-hmm. Really inspiring. That's great, man.
Thank you.
Um, congrats on partnering with Players Tribune.
Thank you.
I saw that you guys published the 5th episode of the text message talk show.
Yes, sir.
It was with KD.
Yes, sir.
I've never seen that kind of format. I really like it. And how did it come about? Was it your idea?
No, it definitely wasn't my idea. I can't take credit. I'm the one that's getting all the talent, so I take credit for that. So I'm getting these guys on there, and that just goes for what I did, over my career, the respect that I have around the league to get these high caliber guys, to take a little bit of time out of their day. But just the fact that the Players Tribune even chose me to do this format, that's something new and innovative and very young. Now that I'm becoming an older man. At first I didn't see the vision. When you hear a text message talk show, there's nothing out there like it. So I'm like, okay. Then, over time, I'm like, yeah, I think we got something with this, So it's been great. It's been a lot of work. It's different, from being just getting up, going to the gym and working out. So I'm just putting my time and passion all in it. So I'm really appreciative of it. And yeah, man, guys, check it out. I'm on my 5th episode. I did some dope ones with D Wade, Udonis Haslam, Dame, and CJ, and we're just trying to get it better and better each episode.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, the guests have been crazy. It'd be awesome if you could forward some of them for us as well. I'm gonna make sure to post links to your show on our YouTube and everywhere. What about other business ventures? You see, especially a lot of guys, especially in the Bay Area, Steph and Clay jumping into the digital space with all kinds of startups. Are you thinking, in that direction as well, or do you have any other business ventures you're involved in?
Yeah, that's something I do. I've been in the tech space maybe I want to say almost 10 years now, where I've been investing in startup companies. Definitely didn't have a head start like Steph and Clay, and it didn't have that same access. But, over time, more and more relationships I build, I'm getting those same, I'm getting a chance to get my eyes on some of those same deals. So it's a grind, man, meeting people and letting people understand that, you're interested and you're being serious about it, because these are guys' passions and it's their life. So, I've been able to invest in a lot of cool companies, and I'm still trying to build my my portfolio and try to find those unicorns. That's what it's all about, finding those unicorns. It's not easy. You got to do a lot of due diligence, and it's a lot of trust in it. So definitely doing that, investing my money in the tech world, real estate as well. And, just trying to see what's out there, man. Small businesses, whatever, bro. I'm trying to cover all areas and leave my legacy. Like I say, man, leave my legacy not only for my kids, not only for my family, but, generations after me, So it's been great.
That's great, and I think it's really really amazing that kind of how the NBA has given its players kind of a platform to do this, because I don't think that this is something that was really okay to do even 20 years ago. Like, remember when Shaq was in LA doing all kinds of things, and he was getting into trouble because of commercials and everything, but
Exactly.
now players are thinking beside basketball, life after basketball, and it's really important.
Yeah, I just think now, I think people mindsets are shifting. We're taking that ownership approach to it. You know what I mean? Why are the people in the front office and ownership mad about us? Trying to spread our wings. A lot of us are first generational wealth. You know what I mean? So we need we need to continue to build our portfolios and make more money, and have interest in other things other than basketball, you know, because that's all we know, you know. So a lot of those people see that, like, players are taking ownership, you know, we're taking equity now instead of taking a big check. We want equity in companies, you know what I mean? We want to be on the board of companies. We don't just want to be affiliated with the company and say, yeah, he gave me $100 or $200,000 and he's getting this amount back. No, we want to build with the companies. We want to grow with these companies. And that's why you see a lot of guys taking more control of their ownership and more control of their brands, which is more important than anything. No athletes, no brand, no basketball. You know what I mean? And people are realizing that.
Exactly. All right, Dorell, I've got a few quick fire questions for you. So, you know, just really short answers. And if we want to dive into a topic or something, we can do it afterwards. But let's keep it short for these.
Okay.
Best teammate you ever played with?
Best teammate, Quentin Richardson.
Most underrated player in the league right now?
Drew Holiday.
Okay. Toughest matchup, your nemesis?
Kobe Bryant, rest in peace.
GOAT. Who's the GOAT?
Michael Jordan.
The best shooter of all time?
Steph Curry.
These are easy for you. Not even all-time starting five.
All-time starting five. My one would be, I'd probably go with Magic Johnson at the 1, Michael Jordan at the 2, Kobe at the 3, Kevin Durant at the 4, and of course the Big Shaq Diesel at the 5.
That's crazy 5.
Sure.
Best international player of all time?
Of all time, ooh, I'm gonna give you, that's a tough one right there. Damn. All time. I always forget Ginobili is not from Europe. He's from South America.
But it's international still, so he could, yeah.
International, I'm gonna go with Ginobili, just because of the jury and, you know, the 6 Men Awards and all that. But you know, to think back, if he never got hurt, would be Sabonis for sure.
Wow, Sabonis. Didn't expect that, but yeah, Sabonis came into the league when he was 28. But
yeah, he was older.
Favorite NBA team growing up?
Lakers.
Yeah, for sure. Olympic gold or NBA ring?
NBA ring.
And last but not least, in a game of horse, you versus Steph, who wins?
Probably me.
Awesome. All right, Dorell, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure having you on the show. I wish you all the best in the future, in all of your future endeavors, business, private. And till next time.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks for having me.